This small resistor worth a few cents decides whether a production line worth millions of euros keeps working, or suddenly stops due to a fault. The problem is that very often resistors are chosen or sized in the wrong way. They overheat, change value, and can even burn out. In this video, we'll see together why it happens, how a resistor really works inside the circuit, and how to choose the right one so that you don't destroy LEDs, power supplies, boards, and electrical panels. At the end, we'll also do an extreme experiment. We'll push an undersized resistor to the limit, so you can see with your own eyes what happens when you get the calculation wrong. In the meantime, I'll leave you with a question. If I have a battery, a resistor, and an LED connected in series, should the resistor be placed before or after the LED? You'll see the answer shortly. If you're watching this video, our content is probably useful to you, yet many of you still aren't subscribed to the channel. Subscribing is the simplest way to support our work and not miss out on our next technical or instructional videos. It only takes one click, but it means a difference to us. Subscribe and become part of the community, because together we share industrial knowledge. Thank you. What a resistor really does. Let's start from the basics. A resistor is a component that makes it more difficult for current to flow. Let's take this circuit as an example. The battery provides voltage, symbol V, measured in volts. It's the push, the total force between positive and negative that makes the electrons flow. Instead, the current, symbol I, is measured in amperes. Amperes tell you how much current passes in the wire. That is, how much electric charge flows every second. In simple terms, more amperes equals more current flow. Now, the resistor comes into play, indicated by the symbol R and measured in ohms. It is the component that limits how many amperes can flow in the circuit. The greater the resistance, the less current can pass. An electrical diagram, you recognize it by its symbol, a rectangular in European standards and a zigzag in American ones. The formula shown is called Ohm's law. Voltage equals resistance times current. These three quantities are linked to each other and the three values influence each other. Here is also its inverse. In practice, what happens is if the voltage increases, the resistance stays the same, the current increases. If the resistance increases and the voltage stays the same, the current decreases. If the voltage and resistance increase or decrease in the same ratio, the current stays the same. When the current is high, the resistor finds itself having to handle a lot of energy passing through it. The more energy passes every second, the more power it must dissipate, and that power inevitably ends up as heat. And this is where the problems start. How a resistor protects an LED. Let's take a red LED and 12-volt 10 ampere hour battery. We measure the voltage at 12.45 volts. And here comes the important thing. This battery is not as gentle as it may seem. In a circuit, like the very simple one that you're looking at, if nothing limits it, it can deliver a few seconds of enormous current on the order of hundreds of amperes. An LED instead lives happily and brightly for a few milliamps, so if you connect it directly to the battery, you doom it. Here, the rule is to protect the LED with a resistor. Let's take these two resistors and with the multimeter, measure their value in ohms. Later in the video, we'll also see how to recognize it at a glance simply by looking at it. The first is rated at 47 kiloohms and measures 46.2 kiloohms. The second is rated at 2.2 kiloohms and measures 2.17 kiloohms. Here's the answer to the question at the beginning of the video. In your opinion, starting from the negative terminal, do we put the LED first or the resistor first? You'll be surprised to know that it makes no difference, and it will work the same either way. Being in series, the current is limited both before and after the resistor. It is the same at every point in the circuit. We connect in series, positive terminal, 47 kiloohm resistor, LED, and negative terminal. The LED, as we see, lights up barely because we're letting a tiny current pass, but by doing so, we are protecting it from an enormous oversized battery. We can measure the red LED has a voltage drop across it of 1.77 volts. We finally measure the current flows through the circuit, which, limited by the resistor, is 0.23 milliamps. All the calculations match. Now I replace the 47 kiloohm with the 2.2 kiloohm. The LED is much easier to see because the smaller resistance letting more current pass. We can measure the red LED now has a voltage drop of 1.95 volts, and that the series current measure is 4.8 milliamps. Here too, the calculations match. By doing this, we are effectively running a small LED with a battery that will keep on for a theoretically 86.8 days. The point is that the battery can give a huge amount, but it doesn't decide how much current flows. The circuit decides with the resistor you're setting up a limit.
What are resistors made of?
It's time to see what's inside the resistor. A classic barrel-shaped resistor, that is, an axial resistor, is made of 3 parts, each with a very precise role. The first, the most important, is the resistive material. It can be a thin layer of carbon, a thin layer of metal, or a wound resistive wire. This is the part that sets the resistance value. That is how much component opposes the flow of the current. To precisely adjust this current, a spiral-shaped groove is often cut into the carbon or metal layer. In this way, by lengthening and thinning the electron's path, the resistance increases. The second part consists of the terminals, also called lead wires. They are the 2 metal wires for current input and output that allow the resistor to be connected to the circuit. Finally, there is the body and the insulation. Inside, we see a ceramic core which provides mechanical rigidity, while on the outside there is an insulating coating that protects the component from humidity, heat, and external agents. Types of resistors, from basic electronics to industry.
In the real world, you find different types of resistors, and each one is for something different. Let's see the common types. Number 1, film resistors, carbon or metal. Number 2, SMD or chip resistors. Number 3, power resistors, wire wound, armored, on heatsink. Number 4, variable and smart resistors. Several families fall in this category: potentiometers and rheostats, the NTC, PTC thermistors, varistors, and LDRs or photoresistors.
How to read the value of a resistor. To understand the value of a resistor, you don't need to memorize everything. You just need to know how to look at the cheat sheet that I'm about to show you. On film resistors, you find colored bands. The logic is simple, and here's the cheat sheet. The first 2, sometimes 3 bands indicate significant digits. The next band is the multiplier, the power of 10, that is, how many zeros you must add. The last band, often slightly separated, indicates the tolerance. Taking our resistor from earlier here, we see it has 4 bands: yellow, violet, orange, and gold. It is read as follows: yellow equals 4, violet equals 7, orange means times 10 to the third, or add 3 zeros, and gold is the tolerance of plus or minus 5%. So the nominal value of this resistor is 47 times 10 to the third ohms, that is 47,000 ohms, or 47 kiloohms, with a tolerance of plus or minus 5%, more or less between 44.65 kiloohms and 49.35 kiloohms. Earlier, we measured that they were actually 46.2 kiloohms, which falls fully within the range. On SMDs, instead, you'll find a printed marking. Here too, to read it, you must rely on a few general rules that you can see on this cheat sheet. With the numeric code, the first digits are the significant digits, and the last digit is the exponent of the multiplier, the associated power of 10. That is, how many zeros you must add. For example, on this board, you see a resistor marked 4872. That means 487 times 10 to the second, which equals 48.7 kiloohms. The letter R appears directly indicates the decimal point or the comma in the value in ohms. Like on this other resistor, 1R3, here the R acts as the comma, so it's 1.3 ohms. In some cases, other letters can also appear, like K or M, that directly indicate thousands or millions of ohms.
Sizing. When just 0.1 watts more destroys your circuit.
A resistor burns out for one reason only: you make it operate beyond its rated power and those watts become heat. Here we use a 100 ohm resistor. We know for sure that is 1 watt for a trivial reason. It is a fundamental datum written in the marking and in the data sheet. In our battery LED resistor circuit, the power that the resistor has to get rid of is calculated like this. The power dissipated by the resistor is equal to the square of the difference between the battery voltage and the voltage across the LED divided by the resistor value. Earlier we measured battery at 12.45 volts and LED at 1.95 volts. So 10.5 volts remain across the resistor, and in doing the math you get 1.1 watts. Now 1.1 watts on paper seems very slightly more than 1 watt, but in reality it means heating up quite a lot. And here everything changes. Compared to the previous experiment with the 2.2 kiloohm, we were at 4.8 milliamps, and the LED was happy. Here instead we are at 105 milliamps, over 20 times as much. Unfortunately, in fact, the LED no longer works because it burned out instantly. It didn't even have time to shine because we didn't protect it. We can say goodbye to it.
At this point, let's redo the experiment without the LED, only the resistor across the battery. Now, the resistor passes a full 124.5 milliamps and 1.55 watts of power, only 1.5 times what it was designed for. Now, let's really measure what happens, without theory. Stopwatch, thermometer, let's see how much it heats up and how quickly the temperature rises.
With the open circuit, the resistor is at 19.4 degrees Celsius, room temperature. Everything is normal. After 10 seconds, the temperature has risen to 29.9 degrees Celsius. In your opinion, at what temperature should the resistor like this operate? We'll get to that shortly. After 30 seconds, we are already at 49 degrees Celsius, a temperature that is usually found on the inside of a well-ventilated PC under full load. I keep measuring at regular intervals of 10 seconds, so you can clearly see not only how much it heats up, but how quickly the temperature rises when you make it operate just above the limit. At 1 minute, by now the resistor has exceeded 90 degrees Celsius. And here something must be said that many underestimate. Resistors can easily reach 120 to 200 degrees Celsius, and when they dissipate near their rated power, especially in the air, it is not a rare case. It is exactly what happens when you size at the limit and the conditions are not perfect.
In a real system, that heat does not stay only there. It transfers to the printed circuit board or to the terminal block, heat the wires, accelerate the aging of the insulation, can deform plastics and supports, and in worse cases, becomes an ignition source. Not because the resistor catches on fire on its own, but because over time it creates the right conditions to make something else fail.
And here comes the practical rule. When you calculate the power that the resistor must dissipate, never choose a resistor that is just right. Choose it with rated power at least double, and if you can, even triple. Because in real life, you are not in the laboratory. Imagine when it will be in a closed panel, with still air, in the sun. The resistor dissipates heat much worse, and therefore, for the same watts, it heats up more, changes behavior more easily, and you go out of spec more easily.
And the ending, usually, is always the same. A blackened panel, stressed components, line stop, and a long diagnosis. A well-sized resistor is a component that nobody notices because everything works. A poorly sized resistor gets noticed immediately. If this video has been useful for you to better understand how resistors work, let us know by leaving a like and a comment. You can also share it. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We recommend visiting our website, jaescompany.com, to learn more about our upcoming projects.